In this episode, Scott and Alex talk to a doula. Dad, what's a doula? He didn't hear me. He's on his phone in the toilet again. Oh well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Oh, by the way, if you haven't done it yet, give us 5 stars. Thanks, legends.
My friend had a baby, now he don't sleep no more. Waves crash in his eyes, tides on the nursery floor. Oh, my friend had a baby.
I mean, if anyone did any research on you, Renee, they'd be sort of excused to starting as a biochemist and then transitioning into the world of doularing. Is that the verb? Doularing?
Yeah, let's go with that.
And then you've also got your product lines and all these other things. You're like involved in so many amazing things.
I have a few hats. I'm not sure you found all my hats, actually. I'm like, oh, good.
That doesn't shock me. Like just with that, I was like, well, being a biochemist wasn't quite enough for me. Found that quite boring, and I had a lot of hours left in the day, so why not?
I won't tell you what I did between that and the doularing then, will I?
I want give us the timeline. So you started as biochemist, and the end result is this amazing business you've built. How did you get from biochemist to I Fill Your Cup?
Obviously, I'm a science nerd through and through, and always had a curious mind. I was very naive. I was in my 20s as a biochemist, and I was like, I'm going to be a scientist forever. And I'm going to cure the world of everything. Evidently, though, the bank doesn't really approve of scientists in Australia when you want to go for a mortgage. Surprise!
Right.
That old 12-month contract that may or may not get rolled over due to Australian government funding is not a great talking point when you are going to go get a mortgage for a house. And so I was kind of like, yeah, about that. So I was trying to find a job that was more secure and something that I could actually utilize my endless amounts of education that I just invested in. And I went to a career seminar, and someone stood up at the front and they were like, hey, I'm a patent attorney and I use all of my qualifications that I acquired during my PhD to essentially chat to scientists and make legal documents so they can monopolize, drugs and discoveries and things like that. Oh, and I make a really good amount of money. And I was like, geez, that sounds like me. Let's go. I transitioned over into intellectual property law, which again, because, I've got all the time in the world, but I found a great law firm. And even then, interestingly, I was already thinking about children and babies and how mothers are treated and things like that. And when I was looking for a job, I was like, I want to work for a firm which is ideally female run and mothers are part of the fabric there. And I found a great firm. And yeah, I was a patent attorney for 8 years. And during that time, I was living in Melbourne and I became a mum, and everything changed for me. This whole career path of I'm going to be I'm going to be partner and, all the rest of it. I didn't know at that stage that my brain was completely rewired when I became a mum, and all of my values changed and my whole outlook on life was completely different. And so you go from being this very self-centered, independent person to the rewiring makes you more empathetic and caring. And as I said, your values and everything change. And so that all went out the window for me. The concept of wanting to become partner at a law firm, I was like, no way. I just don't even want to do that. And I distinctly remember coming back after maternity leave, and I was I was just very ballsy. And I just said, if I'm here, you need to give me the work that I want, because it's a waste of time, because I would much rather be with my kid. which I'd never done before, like the audacity of me to be able to, walk in as like a junior and say that. But I fundamentally believed in it, and I was like, no, being a mum is number one for me.
How did they react to that, if you don't mind me asking? When you came in and you were like, nah, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, they were, I think, I won't lie, they were pretty like shook up about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because law firms are law firms at the end of the day. They're pretty kind of old school. But at the same time, I think they also appreciated the honesty of, wow, okay, she knows exactly what she wants. And so we're going to try and do our best to do that. So yeah, I just became very focused in like what I wanted, because I just wanted to be a mum as well. I really missed, sending my kid to childcare instead of hanging out with her. And then COVID lockdowns hit. Oof, what a time to be alive, right? Oh my goodness. And just as a side note, my husband was running our company, so I was kind of default parent. And so, just trying to manage a 3-year-old at home and juggling work and things like that. And it spiraled pretty quickly for me. And I will say at this point, my husband and I did this, what everyone did in Melbourne. It's like, are we going to learn how to bake sourdough? Are we going to have a COVID baby, or are we going to get a divorce? Like they were the 3 options. I didn't lean into the bread making skill set. I was just like, I don't have time to try and keep something else alive in my life. As like a side note, the postpartum period for me with my daughter was very challenging. I'm an A-type personality. I am an anxious person. I didn't realize that I was going to have a high risk kind of category of postpartum anxiety. As you can probably tell from my track record, I'm a high achiever. I'm like, I can do it all and be it all at the same time. And lo and behold, motherhood doesn't work like that. We're not wired to do motherhood by ourselves. And I might have joked, Scott, I can't remember when we first met in the hypnobirthing class, but I had 2 batches of spaghetti bolognese sauce in my freezer. And I was like, oh, guys, I got this. I got this. Don't worry, everyone. Like, I don't need your help. I'm totally fine. I've got this. And I had this thought process in my head of like, well, I'm not at work, so I'm going to be at home and I'm going to have all this time, right? All this time to clean the house and to cook and to be the best mother. And that didn't end well. And I didn't have friends and family close by, and I had very minimal help, and it was really, really challenging, and sleep deprivation on top of that. And so I slipped into this very big dark hole of anxiety, and it got so bad that I was just like, I don't want to have a second child at all. And I always thought I was going to have at least more than like two plus, right? So we're in the middle of COVID lockdowns. I've got a 3-year-old, and at that stage, I don't know what, I think because I had cleared the fog, like I was like, I'm getting sleep back and all the rest of it. Other people were having COVID babies, and it came back on the agenda. And I said to my husband, oh, what do you think about having like another baby? And he was like, no.
All right.
No. He was
Hard
like,
pass.
yeah, he was like, absolutely not. And I was like, why not? And he's like, Renee, do you not remember what you were like? Like, it was really bad. And I do, in hindsight, I feel really bad for him because, I mean, Alex, I think you've just had a baby.
Yep,
Scott,
number
you're
3.
not quite there yet.
Not yet.
It's so challenging for partners, I think, to be on that outside part, looking in at their loved ones. Like I have, chats with people like during birth and stuff like that. Like, oh my God, like I couldn't do anything and she was going through all of this and it's so challenging. But yeah, he was just like, it's a hard no. It's not happening. So I was devastated. And I thought to myself, you know what? I don't ever want another mum to have to experience what I experienced during that postpartum. And I don't ever want another mum to then consequently have to go, I'm not extending my family to where I thought it was going to be. You know, this dream that I always was going to have, you know, family of 4+, you know, all the rest of it. And so I thought to myself, what is that role? What is that job? Who is that support person that essentially mitigates against all of that? And I found doulas. Doulas have been around for centuries, and they are essentially, you know, non-medicalized support for mothers during birth and postpartum, and they help support them with that emotional support as well. And so I quit my 6-figure job and said, starting a business, and I'm retraining as a doula, and that's what I'm going to do. And everyone thought I was nuts, but I'm clearly not, because it's thriving.
Yeah. And the fact that anyone would doubt you after you were like a biochemist and then, you know, like nearly a partner in a law firm and then a mother and then, you know, you go, I'm going to start this business. The fact that anyone would be like, Renee, are you sure you can handle that? Were you not like just
Scott.
like, do you even know me? Do you even know? Have you met me? Like, I'm probably going to do this and then I'll start 7 other businesses as well at the same time.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Yeah, what a amazing journey to go on. And I feel in a very similar way when we were talking with Dr. Erin, when she said that her experiences going through the birthing process led her to want to do the positive birthing course as an instructor. Hearing you as someone who has got this amazing, all of this knowledge in lived experience, and then turning that into something that is beneficial for mums and parents everywhere is really, really, it's genuinely awe-inspiring, because you see a lot of people that want to start these businesses because they're kind of like, oh, yeah, you know, this will be nice, this will be feel good. And it just doesn't have the same, you know, not to be too corny about it, but just doesn't have the same soul to it, you know, compared to someone like yourself who has lived and breathed those challenges, and being able to walk into a room with someone and say, hey, I don't just get it on paper, like I get what it feels like inside to go through this. That must be beyond reassuring for so many parents to have you say, oh, I don't know if you use that terminology or anything like that, but I know for me personally, when I first met you, you know, hearing a little slice of that story, getting a little amuse bouche of the Dr. Renee White story was like enough for me to go, yep, cool, love her, best friends forever.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that friends and family probably really struggled with is that when you say the word doula, first of all, people think I say jeweler, which, you know, I'm into jewelry, but it's not a jeweler. And then I think in society, and this is what I thought, because this is why I never got a doula for myself, is that it sounds very woo-woo. Okay, like crystals and moxa sticks and, you know, energy and like all that kind of stuff. Whereas when I started Fill Your Cup, and for the 6 years that we've been running, it's got a very science lens to it. It's evidence-based, and the resources that we provide are all backed by science. That is what I think a lot of professional people like myself, when I was in law world, that's who gravitates to us. And also because I'm very vocal about my pre-existing kind of mental health challenges and the fact that I spiraled so much that I ended up having an elective cesarean because I needed to take some control back from the whole scenario. And so people who choose to have elective C-sections come to us and they, you know, I'm having these chats with them and they're like, oh, like almost like whispering, like, oh, I've decided to have a C-section. I'm like, fantastic. Great. Like if that's what you want to do, we are there to support you. But yeah, to your point, I think it's a big leap for people, but in hindsight, the way that I run Fill Your Cup, there's so many elements of science around it. And I think people really like that, particularly in this day and age. More and more people are saying, you know, don't just tell me, I call it fluff on the internet. Don't give me the fluff on the internet. Like, I want the science behind this, particularly when it's coming to about our children and the decisions we're making around that.
I did notice perusing your menu of doulas, because you've got over 25 now that are in the organisation. So many of them come from really, really diverse backgrounds. Like, you know, you've got people in there that have got bachelor's degrees in physics, or they were teachers before, or they were massage therapists, or they're still doing some of those things, but also doing the doula work. That, again, when I was reading through who you have managed to, this team that you've assembled of the masterminds of the doula world, it couldn't be further from that mentality of, this is woo-woo kind of stuff. These are people with lived experience in so many different spaces. And I'm sure people that go and become a doula at young age and continue doing that all the way through until they're in their 70s is, they've got plenty of life experience as well. Yeah. But these people that you've got are just, they look amazing. I'd have a really hard time picking one, to be honest.
It is something that a lot of our clients struggle with in terms of how to pick a doula, and they come back to me and they're like, please, you just choose for me. And I'm like, no, I can't choose for you. This is a decision that you need to make. I handpick every single doula, and it takes me a really, really long time to do that. And there's lots of hoops that people need to jump through in order to be part of Fill Your Cup. And I'm actually really proud of that, because I get a lot of inquiries for people to join, and I say a lot of no's, because I'm just like, I just don't think that your philosophy is going to fit with us. Or, I'm always looking for, as you've kind of, I'm so glad that you saw that, the diversity of our doulas, because I am a firm believer, if there's something that I have learned very early on in my kind of business career, is that I can't do it all. And so the gaps that I have in terms of skill set, I fill with the people around myself, whether it's my accountant or my virtual assistant or my business manager or whatever it is. You need to fill your village with the people that are going to complement you. I don't want 50 Renees. That's not going to benefit anyone. And so one of the great things about Fill Your Cup, and some people look at it on face value and think it's an agency. It's absolutely not an agency. That's kind of very transactional for me. Our Fill Your Cup doulas, we are a village. And so we're constantly learning from one another about our own lived experience and our own experiences with doulas. And we have professional development and, the diversity in the backgrounds. We're constantly learning from one another. So it's just this beautiful, it's a beautiful group of women who just look after mums. It's actually one of the best jobs in the world. I still have to pinch myself every day that I get to do this.
How does someone come to you, and why do they come to I Fill Your Cup, and what support do they get when they join? So we want to talk a bit to the parents in the audience now about what kind of things does a doula do and what kind of, I guess, for lack of a better term, problems are you able to help people with?
Yeah, great question. So I would say that the families that come to us probably fall in a couple of different buckets. The first are first-time parents with the classic, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm stressing out and I'm feeling really overwhelmed about this, and I want someone to walk alongside me on that journey and want someone, whether it's in that pregnancy and birth space, so as a birth doula, and or in the postpartum space. So that's after the baby has arrived. And so I could probably speak to both of those facets in a second. The second group I would say that come to us, again, I've touched on this, people with pre-existing mental health challenges. So maybe they've got a history of depression or anxiety because they need some extra support. More often than not, their psychologist or counsellor has suggested to them it would be really beneficial for you to have a doula in your space. The third would be people like myself who didn't have friends and family close by. And so you don't have that village around you. And the fourth, I would say, which is really kind of picking up at the moment, are business owners. So whether the mum is a business owner or the non-birthing partner is a business owner and they don't have the capacity to, have parental leave that, another company is going to pay for and things like that. So I like to look at that, and it's almost like they need an extra set of hands in the house to help them alongside it. In terms of what we do, so first would be a birth doula. So your birth doula will be helping you and guiding you and supporting you during pregnancy. And so we do that with a couple of different ways. Each family has a WhatsApp chat. So your doula will be in that chat with yourself and your partner. And like I say to people, we're not there for medical stuff. We're not medical people. But we're there for the emotional support. If you had a rough day, if you have a nosy neighbor like Beryl who sticks her head over the fence and tells you something whack, and you think, oh shit, is that real? The amount of times that we have seen that happen, because I don't know what happens during pregnancy. Society gets like this, pass apparently that you can touch a mother's stomach, that you can ask any question, that you can make a comment about her baby, her body, her choices, all those things. And what we do is I always say to families, jump into the WhatsApp chat, you tell us about it, we will support you, walk you through it, almost like a counselor would, or we will provide you resources around that. So I don't want families on the Google, slipping down Google rabbit holes, getting stressed, all that kind of stuff. Don't do it. That's our job. We take the mental load off you. So that's what we do for that. Then there's birth preparation sessions, which sit really beautifully along things like hypnobirthing classes and hospital birth classes. So those types of things are done in group settings, but when a doula works with you, we take all of that knowledge and we sit down with you and your partner and we work out essentially a personalized version of that. And we work out a birth plan for you. And so that gets distributed to everyone in the birth space who's present there. So there's no surprises. Not like, say, I don't know, your mum or your sister or your cousin's going to be there at the birth. Everyone is really clear about expectations and the decisions that you've made about the choices that you want. So we don't have people going, oh, hold on a minute, hold on, no, are we doing that? No, we're not doing that. Just everyone's really clear. And then in the postpartum, what we do is I like to call us, we're almost like the Mary Poppins of mothers. Okay, so we provide a menu, which is all postpartum specific food that I've kind of curated based on my knowledge as a biochemist and the nutrients that we give to our beautiful babies as they're growing and we are left with nothing. All our meals are built with intent. So there's a reason why I've put this ingredient with that ingredient in this recipe at this point of your recovery. We're making meals for you. We're popping on the washing. We're holding your baby while you go have a sleep or a shower.
Oh, wow.
I can see Alex is basically like
Alex is
salivating.
Like,
He's like,
Are you telling me that you could get someone to come in and do what I've been doing?
but also doing it properly. Let me just throw that out there.
Oh, look, I have my moments.
I'm sure you're doing an amazing job, Alex.
There are about four with 3 kids in the house now, and there's like 4 buckets of clothes that need to be folded in the house at the moment, and that's that's the one thing I'm going to do today is get all the stuff folded. I'm going to put the TV on, baby's asleep.
Yeah.
Keep my wife fed.
Yeah.
And just fold some washing. Mm-hmm. That's the plan.
That's
the plan
great
for today. But you're saying I could pay to get someone to do that for me?
Yes, you could.
But not with Fill Your Cup because, unfortunately, South Australia.
Australia and the Northern Territory are the only places we are not in yet.
No one's perfect. That's fine. There's still time.
But yeah, look, that's pretty much in a nutshell. I mean, the other thing is if it's just postpartum, we have postpartum planning sessions as well. So that is essentially, sessions where we sit down and it's like a game planning session of what is your life going to look like after this baby arrives? How, like the boundaries, the visitors, the nutrition, the sleep, the mental load, the house chores, how is that all going to change? And how are we going to make sure that it's essentially the smoothest transition that you can possibly have? Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything because having a baby is tough, right? There's sleep deprivation, there's hormone changes, and just, becoming parents is hard enough. But there are absolutely things that you can do in advance that can make your life so much easier than just the classic, we're just going to wing it.
That was we talked in our last episode where we talked about my little daughter being born, and we had planned everything for a vaginal birth. That's how everything was going to go. We'd had all the free advice that Scott organised for me that we were prepared for, which was fantastic. And we had 2 kids previously, and they were reasonably seamless. A few little issues here and there, but this one, it was an emergency cesarean, which kind of really threw our mental load into a different zone entirely. And my wife has PTSD from previous experiences with emergency surgeries. We just had to be really upfront with everyone going, look, this is our situation. You've put us here. But I felt like because we were prepared for a particular situation and we were given that advice, we could apply that to this different situation that for us was not ideal at all.
Yep.
But what sort of the things that you might talk to people about preparing for, or the best that you can when things don't go to plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of self-awareness from the beginning. Like, as you said, your wife had PTSD around some other surgeries and things like that. Having those in the back of your mind, as sometimes it can be really challenging to confront that from the beginning. But having contingency plans, like I'm all about contingency plans. And we have had scenarios where in birth preparation sessions, people have been quite adamant in the sense of, no, I'm having a vaginal birth and I'm only going to talk about this, and we're not talking about having a cesarean. And look, that is totally fine if that's your want and wish, but we always, would encourage to talk about what happens with a C-section, what's going to happen in that emergency scenario, because I'm a firm believer of knowledge is power. And just having that knowledge of the medications that you're going to have, how to look after your wound, mobility, the things like you're probably going to have to outsource some things. The number of times that I've had people call me and say, am I too late to have a doula? My wife's had an emergency C-section and we're just not coping. Lots and lots of people. I think my advice would be, if you can, talk about what the other scenarios could possibly be on the menu and what are you going to do in those particular scenarios. You've got 2 other kids, Alex. That becomes challenging. I know after you've had a C-section, you can't lift anything heavy. So I'm sure you've got some little ones who are desperate to have a cuddle and things like that. Little things like that make it really challenging. So, yeah, my number one piece of advice would be always look at different contingencies and prepare. Food, I'm European. Like, food is my love language. So I have a philosophy when it comes to preparing for a baby. Think of it like the zombie apocalypse is coming, okay? And you have to make sure you can't leave your house for 2 weeks, right? Zombies are out there, apocalypse, boarding everything up. You want to have 2 weeks worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks at least to like get you by. And the reason I say that is in advance, you need to have those. You're going to be so sleep deprived. You're not even going to be wanting to make toast. Like, just the mental capacity of like shoving bread in a toaster can be challenging. But we know from the research that, good quality nutritious food is not just there to play a role in physical recovery, but also mental recovery as well. And we know that there's huge drops in hormones, and this is when our mamas are most vulnerable to things like postpartum depression and anxiety and things like that. And, they've shown that particular nutrients can help mitigate against those types of things. So food is a huge, huge role in postpartum as well. And if you choose to breastfeed as well, that's a huge calorie kind of expenditure. So don't even get me started on that. The amount of mums who are like, why am I so hungry? The baby's out of my body. And I'm like, girlfriend, do you know how much energy you are churning through on the daily to feed yourself and your baby? It's insane.
On the talk of nutrition, so we did my wife was like, oh, I have a third baby, don't need a baby shower. I'm like, so I organised one in secret and we had a baby shower. She attended. We didn't have a separate baby shower. It was for her. And I said, instead of bringing gifts, because we've got all the stuff, could you
don't
bring
need any more stuff.
Bring a frozen meal. That would be great. So
yes, good one.
So we had about 10 people. Everyone brought frozen food. We threw it in the deep freeze at the back. I've got about 6 kilos of spaghetti bolognese. Is that gonna tick the box, do you think?
Look, I'm gonna tell you what I do to bougie up some spaghetti bolognese, Alex. And for all those playing at home, please do this.
I'm in.
I'm gonna do a shameless plug because if you are going to have spaghetti bolognese, and this is actually on our menu, we don't do lasagna and we don't do spaghetti bolognese because our families are inundated with that, so that's not on the menu. But what we do is a cottage pie, and it's got grass-fed beef, and the butcher actually puts liver in it. And it's pre-minced and you can't taste it, you can't smell it, none of that. And the reason why we put liver in is because it's super high in iron, which we know our mamas absolutely need in the postpartum to help with fatigue and recovery and things like that. Pair that with some orange veg, so think carrots, sweet potato. That's high in vitamin C because iron needs vitamin C for maximum absorption. That's the best. So do that. So look, your spaghetti bolognese is going to suffice. It's better than toast and Tim Tams.
That's very true. I always throw in a quarter a cup of milk in my spaghetti bolognese. Could I replace that with breast milk?
Why are you putting milk in your spaghetti bolognese?
Have you not seen that? That's a thing you can do. It thickens it up a little bit.
You have to put milk in your spaghetti bolognese. Come on now.
I'm European. This is the first time I've heard it. I feel like this is some sort of sacrilege to spaghetti bolognese.
That's it. I warned you there was going to be a point in this episode where I get really worked up. Now, on the topic of food, though, I've got to point out your lactation cookie mix.
Yes.
I've got a problem with that. I can't stop eating them.
Are you leaking, Scott?
I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like, why am I sweating? And it's like, no, don't worry. If you're a man and you eat them, you won't start lactating.
No, you won't.
No, they are genuinely delicious. And,
I know.
And when I first saw them, when you came to the course, you handed them out, I was like, okay, well, it's just a big pile of seeds and nuts and stuff. I'm like, okay. And then I ate one and I was like, oh, fuck off. That is so good. And then we got some and I was like, okay, we're all prepared. And I was like, maybe I'll just make a little batch so we can get used to having them around.
Little sweet treat.
As a pre-warning, if you do go to fill your cup and get the lactation mix, just keep them away from Dad's because they are delicious for everyone.
Scott, it wouldn't be the first time I've heard this, which is great. And it also wouldn't be the first time I've been asked to hide said cookies in the house because others have been actually, do you know what? If you still have the actual packet, and not a lot of people see this because it was a bit of a cheeky thing that we did, on the bottom of the packet, which people don't normally see because they're stand-up packets, there's actually a little warning that says, please keep away from other people in the house because they will eat them all.
Yeah, you need to put that on the front of the packet.
I do. Nice
and actually
warning.
get some kind of cookie mold so when you make them and you take it out, it says on there, this is not for you, put it back.
Yes.
What is a lactation cookie and what does it do?
Great question. And I always get asked this when I do the morning teas at the hypnobirthing class. A lactation cookie, the way that I describe it is the first thing I'll say is that if anyone tells you that it's going to double your milk supply in 24 hours or money back guarantee, please don't listen to that. There's no, scientific evidence that it will do that.
So you don't have one of those pop-up things on your website that says lactation specialists hate this one simple trick.
No, we don't have anything like that. Any chemical, whether it be natural or synthetic, that aids in milk production in your body is called a galactagogue. It needs to be doing like one of two things. So you need two hormones to actually make and express milk. The first one is prolactin. So pro meaning for, and then lactating lactin. So that produces the milk. And then you need oxytocin for the actual letdown. So to actually, expel the milk out of the breast. A galactagogue has to be working on one of those kind of two hormones in your body. Now, we know that there are some food types that are galactagogues. First is oats, flaxseed, and brewer's yeast. And I would also argue chocolate as well, because that's a very kind of like yummy oxytocin booster type of thing. All of those ingredients are in our cookies. Also, they're high in protein. So we've got that through with a food tech, and it's all organic ingredients as well. So they're going to be really kind of nourishing food that's not going to send you on like a bit of a sugar high as well, because we like to think of these as our 3 a.m. snack. So really great to have in the middle of the night when you're up feeding Bubby. And like I always joke, I was eating bowls of Nutri-Grain, and nothing against Nutri-Grain, but like, not the greatest.
Not doing it.
We've got anecdotal evidence from our mums who eat our cookies that, it kind of boosted their milk supply and things like that. But it's just one of those snacks where it's like really nourishing. They have got galactagogue ingredients in them, but at no point would I ever say it's going to double your milk supply and things like that.
That is the greatest name for something I've ever heard. It's like some sort of superhero character.
Galactagogue.
Galactagogue.
Yeah.
The milk
actually,
specialist.
I could see that as a Marvel character.
Yeah, Lady Galactagogue. That'd be good. Renee, you were talking before about how when you went back to work, your brain had a bit of a change and you had a different attitude about things. And I was looking at some of the stuff on your socials earlier, and you came across a study that talked about those brain changes that happened after the first baby. There are different changes after the second baby. Do you think your attitude was a choice, or was that something your brain just did and you didn't have a choice in feeling that way? Like, was there a sense of control that you still felt you had? But what do you know about what happens to the brain once you have a kid? Great
questions, particularly around the choice part. First of all, we'll go with the science. So we know from the research that at the moment of conception, a mother's brain starts to remodel. And when we say remodel, what that actually has been shown to do, and they've put mums in MRI machines, so they've actually mapped out the brain, is that there seems to be a reduction in the grey matter, which sounds a little bit scary on first blush, but what that's actually doing is it's like almost like a pruning kind of method, and it's making room for what we like to call maternal circuitry. And what that's doing is I like to think of it almost like a leveling up. You're leveling up in a skill set, things like empathy, emotional intelligence, facial recognition. We often hear from mums where they say, oh God, I just can't stop staring at my baby. I just can't stop staring at my baby. Or people will say, stop staring at the baby. They're not going anywhere. Like, what are you doing? And the reason we do that is because we are constantly like scanning our baby and picking up on, if you like to think, in a bit of computer terms, all the data points, okay? Picking up all the data points. We're listening to the pitch of their cry, the movements that they make, and we're registering what that actually means. Are they tired? Are they hungry? Are they cold? What's going on? And that is all because our brains have completely remodeled around that. Interestingly, the same team that worked out all of that study a few years back, have just released a second study which showed that in your second pregnancy, you go through a whole new rewiring and you actually level up in other skill sets, not around empathy or emotional intelligence. It's actually to do with awareness and movement. And it makes sense because what that's telling you is that your brain is learning to juggle more than one child. So, you're at the park and you've got the baby in the baby carrier and your toddler's like bolting for the gate. That's what you're leveling up on. And heaps of people have said, I did a post on it on Instagram. So many people were like, oh my God, I have reflexes like a cat after my second child, right? That didn't even exist. I couldn't catch a ball, in teens, but now I can I'm like Spider-Man straight out there and I'm catching things. So there's that full rewiring as well, I think, from that's gearing us more towards that mother caring, empathetic, bonding kind of thing. But in terms of your values, you absolutely are rewiring because, as I was saying earlier, you have to look after a human being. They are relying on you to survive. One of the things that I really struggled with in my postpartum, I distinctly remember this huge internal shift in my body. And I remember thinking, I don't feel like myself. This feels very foreign and I don't like it and I don't know what this feeling is. And I remember talking to my psychologist about it. And I was like, well, do I have postpartum depression? And she was like, no, absolutely not. I can't shake this feeling. What is this feeling? And she was like, this is motherhood, Renee, because you've gone from this independent, I can walk out the door and do whatever I like, when I like, how I like, to this constant awareness of this child is here. This child is the most important thing in my life. And so every decision I make is going to be dictated. She's the sun. Everything revolves around her now. I guess circling back to your question, when I turned up at work and I had all these different changes, did I choose it? Maybe to a degree, because I know that there are some mums who go back to work and still want to be the partner of a law firm, and that's totally fine. But it didn't affect me in that way. I was just kind of like, nope, this is my hyper focus now, and this is what I want to be. I am a mother first and foremost.
We talk about brain changes in mums a lot, but do we know anything about brain changes in dads when they become dads?
Yep, absolutely. So there have been studies done as well. And what they have shown is that they do have similar brain changes, but it happens a bit more slower. And in actual fact, it's not just dads, it's any caregiver who, I think the limitation around it was that they had to be really hands-on. Not just this occasional kind of check-in, check-out thing. It was essentially the correlation was the more hands-on you are and the more involved you are, the better the bonding, and therefore that's where we see the brain changes and the chemistry. So it didn't have to necessarily be a parent. It could be, a grandparent or a really involved auntie or something like that, because they showed it with adoptive parents as well. You didn't actually need to have the genetics there.
Well, there you go for any of you, your dads out there. There's your leg up to be involved is you literally unlock superpowers.
Yes, you do.
you don't just look good on social media. Your brain unlocks.
Yeah. Can I just make a point on that though? I do often hear from, people that, there's not much I can do if you're the non-birthing parent, or you're, my partner's breastfeeding, so there's not much I can do. Can I reframe that for everyone who's listening? That's the only thing you can't do. You can't lactate. You can do everything else. That list is so long. If I were to say anything, get involved. Just because it's a baby, and I often hear, it's a baby, it's not they don't engage, they're not talking. What could I possibly do? Everything except for lactate. So the world's your oyster, really.
Can I ask a loaded question?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So now you're this far along the journey in parenthood and motherhood. If it were a choice at the time, knowing what you know now, would you have made the choice at the time to experience things the way that you experienced it?
As in go through all of that anxiety and pressure and...
Yeah, with all the knowledge you've gained out of it and all of that. I guess the framing is with all of that turmoil and stress that you experience, but coming out of the other side with this huge body
Silver
of knowledge,
lining.
was there a silver lining to that?
I do. I think I would still do it. And the reason behind that is, as I said, this job is the most rewarding job I've ever had. And for me, I think taking a really big step back from a world perspective, I am a huge believer that mothers are one of the most undervalued demographic in the world. And everyone on this earth has a mother. And we have shown in the research time and time again that, things like mothers who take, 30 minutes per week for self-care are 3 times less likely to develop postnatal depressive symptoms. We've shown that if a mother has mental health challenges, the ripple effect on her child and her family and the community are huge. So it stands to reason, why are we not looking after mothers more? It doesn't make sense. Call me naive, call me ballsy, call me courageous, call me brave, whatever it is. But I'm a huge believer that I can make a difference. And I have seen the difference that I have made through Fill Your Cup on the families and the communities that they live in. And if I had to suffer what I went through in order to change the lives that I did and continue to do, then I'm happy to be that person.
All right, so now we're all clued up on how to become not just parents, but to become superheroes in the household. Better take a quick break here. We'll be back with all your favourite segments, which I'm sure that Dr. White will just be completely bamboozled at how brilliant they are, and we'll see you shortly.
Oh, my friend had a baby. Life flipped like a coin. Oh, my friend had a baby. Chaos joined the joy.
Hello. Wow. What an interesting episode. I wish we had a doula, but my mommy and daddy do a pretty good job. I have a baby sister, Udi. She's cook. I wish you could meet her. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.
Parenthood's a dubstep drop, not some easy dream. Oh, my friend had a baby. Life
Welcome back. Great to have you with us on the other side of the break. We're here with Dr. Renee White, who is, I can see very clearly, changing Alex's life by the minute.
And it's costing me nothing. This is great. Unless I'm going to get an invoice, aren't I?
Just see when we have these guests on how excited you are, and like I can see that like super nerd part of you that's like, yeah, I'm not just a dad, I'm a superhero now.
You've had 3 levels up now, Alex.
I know. I'm amazing.
God. Your head is already geographically huge. It doesn't need to be. All right, I'm going to jump into our How to Date section here. Alex, cue that music up for me.
How to dad, how to do, fix a boo-boo or a shoe, got a tantrum, got no clue. How to dad, it's in your hand, step by step you'll understand. How to dad, you're the man.
this week's How to Dad question, I'm really glad we've got Dr. White here for this. And it's something I've thought about a lot. And just so you know, Renee, normally these are a little bit silly. It's like,
Okay.
you know, but this one's a bit serious because it's something that I've been thinking about a lot.
Why do I get the serious one?
Because you're so bloody brilliant. I just want to try and stump you somehow.
Oh,
Unfortunately, I
God,
know
okay.
you're probably got to have the perfect answer. So on the topic of postnatal anxiety.
Yeah.
Now, we know that fully sort of diagnosable conditions of postnatal anxiety appear in sort of 10 to 20% of the population, but symptoms of postnatal anxiety do pop up in, you know, upwards of 45 to 50% of mothers. This week's How to Dad question is, when those symptoms potentially do arise, what's the advice from you, like a partner can do to help support people going through those types of symptoms? What are some off-the-cuff things that you would suggest that we should be doing?
Yeah, great question. Perhaps just the awareness of a lot of people don't know like what to look for because anxiety is very much internalized. And it can feature on the external as things like irritability, loss of appetite, rage, things like that. And so anxiety might not be front and center for you to go, oh, she's anxious. Okay. So I would be thinking about, and this is the best part, this is what I always say to families, is that the people who are closest to you will be able to see a change. And if something doesn't seem right, I would probably, first of all, hold space for that person and just check in with them as to see like what's going on. And I would do that not when there's a quote unquote event of like rage or irritability. I would probably frame it when things are pretty calm. You know, you've put the baby to bed and, you know, you're having maybe a quiet moment together or something like that. And just check in with them and just say, how are you going? And don't try and fix it. I think lots of dads, if we're talking about dads and partners, lots of, particularly dads, I'm going to say, they want to fix it. Don't fix it. Just listen. And that's the other good piece of advice I would give is when you approach your partner for something or they've come to you with a gripe or something like that, one of your first responses should be to listen. And then the second should be, do you want me to hold space for you or do you want me to help fix this? And more often than not, we don't want you to fix it. We just want you to hear us whinge and then be done with it because then we'll move on. That's how we're wired, okay? The other advice I would give is if the anxiety is starting to, I liked this framework. I spoke to a psychiatrist the other day about anxiety. She used this really great analogy. She said, if the anxiety has taken the wheel and is driving the car, that's when you really need to start thinking about professional help because it's starting to make decisions in your life for you and it's a bit out of control. So if you see things where anxiety is coming into play and decisions are being made because of it, as a consequence of it, that's when you probably need to reach out and seek some additional help. And that can start with a conversation with your local GP. They might give you a mental health plan, put you in contact with a psychologist. And I will say, as a shameless plug, because I think we'll be remiss of not talking about this, the cost of living at the moment is crazy. And a lot of people don't get mental health support because it's expensive. There is a fantastic organisation, which is Australia-wide. It's called Mums Matter Psychology, and they provide bulk billed mental health support with psychologists, and it's all telehealth. So you can do it in your pajamas, breastfeeding your baby, in your lounge room. You don't have to go anywhere. Those would be my first kind of ports of call.
So you're saying arranging a psychiatrist to turn up at the birthing suite as a precautionary measure is maybe a bit overkill?
Yeah, just a little bit.
What have you got planned, Scott? Like, is there going to
Maybe
be
our parade of mental health practitioners in
a clown car of just people coming through just to.
Yeah, you're like, here's something I prepared earlier.
Yeah. No, I love that advice. We have a little bit of a preemptive system that we've discussed together. Do you want me to listen? Do you want me to talk? Or do you want me to act?
Yes.
And
love
that's
that.
reassuring to hear that from your perspective, we're on the right path.
Yeah.
Look at you all prepared, Scott. Aren't you just the? You're
Well,
look at you just putting yourself up on a pedestal. Look at me, giving yourself a little gold star.
I have been doing this podcast with you now for long enough to know that your style is terrifying. Like the whole, I guess we better get the crib out of the shed now.
Alex is like, let's just tread water for another 5 minutes. She'll be right.
That's fine.
No, that's a joke. Alex and his partner have been very prepared, very, very inspiring throughout this as well. So, no, thank you very much for that advice. Alex, do you have any advice on your end of things without prying too much into the inner workings of your household? Anything you've done to prepare for the potential emergence of some of those postnatal anxieties or depressions?
I just worry. I'm just hearing all the things to look out for. I'm like, uh-oh. I think I'm hearing a couple of things that I might be doing at the moment with the little kids around the house. Like, they can be really triggering when you're trying to. The day after we got home, I still had to take my son to the doctor because he had something wrong. My daughter still needed to get to school. All of those things need to happen. And when they look at you in the face and go, nah, not doing that, and you're just like, I have been up overnight. I've been doing this. All I'm asking you to do is just say, sure, Dad, no worries. I'll do that right now. And when they don't, you have to take a lot of strength internally to speak to them in a nice, calm way. It can be really tough.
Yep. It's very, very challenging, particularly because we find that the little people in our houses will regress as well when another beautiful human being joins the pack.
Yeah.
And that can be really, really challenging to do that. As I say to people, we don't have a silver bullet for parenting. There's no manual, unfortunately. But what the beautiful thing is that we're all human and we all have our own little personalities. And I think that's where having a village around you of people who are supportive, even to the extent of like someone who you can voice message in the morning, Alex, after that, another adult, and be like, you will not believe what just happened. Like, there's what you're just like, oh my God. I give the example of, I told my 9-year-old daughter 5 times last night to get her stuff together for soccer training this morning. What do you think we were doing at 7:45? We were getting things organized for soccer training. And I walked up to that soccer field this morning and every mum and dad turned around and like looked, and I was just like, I was like, why? Why is it so hard? And then we all shared stories about how difficult it was to get our kids organized for this morning. And then it was like, you just like lift off like a bit of a layer of like pressure. And then you're like, okay, yeah, great. All right, everyone have a great day. See you later. Goodbye. That's the best part. Get yourself a village.
Yeah. We find that at school drop off where like you talk to a couple of the other dads or mums or whatever, you just go, that was fucking bullshit. Mm-hmm. Just getting here, like it's a miracle that we're here right now. So,
yes. Yeah, it's a miracle that people have their pants on right now. Like that's what we were this morning. I was like, oh my God, what a vibe.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Scott, I think it's perfect time. Should we do word of the week?
It would be remiss of us not to include Dr. White in this earth-shatteringly creative segment that we do.
Why am I so nervous all of a sudden?
No. Look, I don't think anyone's thought of the concept of word of the week before, but we are on that train and we are riding it, and it is just known throughout the universe now that this exists. So let's play that theme music.
It's time for Word of the Week. It's time for Word of the Week. It's time, oh yeah, for Word of the Week.
This this week's word of the week, it plays on last week's episode, Scott. So I know everyone's listened to last week's episode already, so they would have heard this term before. But I figured with a professional in the room, it doesn't hurt to bring these things up. And it's something that my wife went through as part of her emergency cesarean, well, in the lead up to, and it is an external cephalic version. And Scott, he's all over this because we talked about this last week. But this is where it's the manual adjustment of the baby. If the baby, this is pre-baby coming out, but they give it such a strange name, aversion. Like, what does that even mean? But it is when a professional will try and move the baby who may be in breech into a position where the head is down. So it's hands-on the outside of the belly. From what I saw, felt like ripping and tearing of my wife's stomach as the two obstetricians grabbed my child from the outside and tried to push them around. And there's a note here that it says it can be sometimes uncomfortable. Now, they said this is your Google kicking in here. Sometimes uncomfortable. What
Sounds passably unpleasant.
What I saw in this external cephalic version, what a stupid name for pushing your baby around, it can be extremely uncomfortable. My wife was making noises that I haven't heard her made before. She was like, holding onto the side of the bed. I'm like, okay, just breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Free advice from another episode. And it is basically to try, if your baby is in breech or an odd position, to ideally, in our case, was to try and prevent a cesarean, because my wife was like, I'd kind of like to do vaginal birth again. They can do that to try and get baby's head down. It is something that can be done, but has about a 50% success rate. And in our case, was not successful. So that is an external cephalic version. Renee, I don't know how you feel about that, but I watching my wife's stomach being moved by two very professional obstetricians going, all right, we're just going to try this. But they got into they looked like tradies for a couple of minutes trying to get this baby to move, and it would not move. Was really interesting. We had that sort of, it might key into that mental thing as well of this might work and we might get to your goal that you want to do of a vaginal birth, but just letting you know that you may end up on the operating table.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm a visual person and I'm just channeling like Sigourney Weaver in Aliens kind
100%
of vibe to that.
There was like the head was like more out of her body than her own head at one point. I was like, that doesn't look right.
Like, as beautiful as the whole birthing process can be, there's some real medieval shit that can go on. Like, it is real, like, archaic. I mean, there's no other way to do it, as far as we're aware currently. Yeah, after hearing about what your wife went through, Alex, I was like, okay, extra glad to not have a womb right now, because that sounds so fucked.
Yeah, with all due respect, you guys aren't wired for this shit.
No. And again, I've said this a few times before, the fact that we call women the fairer sex is still laughable compared to, it's like, oh, I got kicked in the balls once and that really hurt. And it's like, okay, now we're going to keep populating the human race.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, here is some of the shit that just might happen. Unbelievable.
I love how they've said it could be uncomfortable. Okay.
Or when you've got two women fully lubing up a belly to try and move things around. And as I mentioned in our last episode, I was sat down, and thank goodness. Not very often
take a load off, Alex. Other people are working.
Thank God. My feet are so sore.
Oh, my goodness. My quads. Woof, they are burning just standing here.
Walking all the way from the car park in here. Where's the chair?
I will have you know, because Scott, you know about this from last week, that I had to move the car multiple times throughout this day because we were in limited parking. I had to move the car, had to go back and forth. I had that mental load in my head, which I took off from my wife. I did that for her. Okay?
What a hero. What a saint.
Yeah. No sympathy here, sorry.
Why is it me that always ends up getting copping shit as part of this? This is ridiculous. Anyway, it's actually valid.
call back to something because the word uncomfortable has popped up a couple of times. And I want to just do a throwback to something earlier you said in the episode, Renee, about advice and the kind of like the free pass that people feel like they get when it comes to women and touching them and poking them and all that kind of thing. I don't know if you and your team have experienced this, but what we have noticed is as the pregnancy has progressed, the volume of advice that we've got from people that don't have children has really it's like the volume's been turned up. People that have got kids are sort of like, here we go. You know, they're kind of reserved in their provision of advice. But those that don't, and we've got advice from people that I've said to them, I've been to your house, like all your pot plants are dead. You've got cans of baked beans that are out of date. Like you've got cans of baked beans that are out of date. Those things last forever. And you're giving me advice.
That's a skill set, right?
I know, right? Have your team, do they field that a lot from parents, from mothers where they're going, I'm getting all this weird advice from my neighbor who's like an old spinster and has no kids, and yet they're throwing all of this bizarre shit in my head. Is that a common occurrence?
It is, absolutely, because the people who have had children know, because they have been through it, don't give unsolicited advice, particularly the stuff that is just complete, wives' tales and whack. Just don't even worry about it. I think to me, the people who don't have children have this completely different idea and perception of what parenthood actually is. Like they're the classic ones who are like, my child will never have plastic toys and they'll never be on an iPad and they'll never, they're going to have organic, okay. Have you ever been on a plane with a child? It's like before we get on the plane, my child has an iPad in front of her because that is how I'm going to survive. All of these things. It's crazy. It's absolute crazy. But these are the things that we navigate all the time on the text with the family chats. And people are diving in. They'll be like, oh, my God, my cousin just said X, Y, Z. And it's a younger cousin who doesn't have kids and blah, blah, blah. My initial thing is, and so what do you think is true? And they're like, it sounds crazy. And I'm like,
It's so true. You just said about like younger people giving advice on it. It's always like TikTok-y stuff. It's like, sleep with an onion under your pillow. Like, make sure before you put the baby in the car seat for the first time, the cat sits in it for a bit, and it's like, what is this advice? It's so weird. If an OB or a doula or a midwife or something said something like that to me, I'd be going, we need to get rid of these people.
Yeah.
And
you're no longer part of the team. The tribe has spoken.
Yeah,
you're
it's
out.
like, okay, well, I'm stuck with you because you're either a family member or you're like a long-standing friend, but you just shut the fuck up and stay out of this. But it sticks in your head. Like that piece of information, that piece of weird advice pushes its way in and it pushes something useful out. I'm like, I just need to not talk to you for a few weeks.
It does, and there's science behind that. Do you want to know why?
Yes.
Because, and this is another reason why we start to spiral a bit as mums in particular, that rewiring, what that does is that I like to think of it almost like pre-pregnancy, we've got like a fine sieve for our brain. And so we're able to really kind of calibrate what's coming through that sieve and everything's logical and it makes sense and we're able to kind of track fact or fiction. When we're remodeling and we're becoming, getting that skill set for becoming mums, the holes in the sieve become bigger. So think of it almost like, the sieve that you use to drain your pasta. Much bigger holes. The reason for that is because we as mothers are becoming more alert for that threat and danger because our children are our number ones and we have to protect them. And so we're taking in more and more data points, okay? And at the same time, because of all of that, we find it difficult to sift out the fact or fiction. And so when we get these inputs in, it's that perceived threat from Beryl or your cousin or whoever it is, and we find it challenging to manage that and go, hold on a minute, like, is that real? And we start to second guess ourselves as well because we're moving into this new identity and we're not quite sure who we are at that stage yet. So that's why those things come in and they sit and they ruminate, and sometimes we don't really know what to do with it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, unbelievably so.
That's why.
God, so the role on advice today is for anyone who's listening to this. We do have a weird amount of people who don't have kids who listen to this podcast and have no plan to it. Follow the lead of the other parents in terms of the type of advice that you're giving, and keep all your witchcraft and various, odd advice to yourself. Save it for your cats.
Yeah, save it for your cats.
Oh, it looks like I'll be removing that onion from under my wife's pillow. The last question that I wanted to ask you was, and I might use some of your experience as a patent lawyer for this, because I don't know if this is a thing yet. Getting advice all over the place here. If I see it, I'm like a shark in the water. Wait.
His eyes go black. He's like, free stuff, free advice. Yes, good.
Are there dad doulas out there? Are there doulas like that help dads?
Oh, that help dads? I thought you meant that dads who are doulas.
Well,
oh yeah, that's part of our program.
Actually, well, there's a good two. I think that's a good 2.2 point.
It is kind of like, yeah, it is a 2-part question. Is, are there dad doulas or doulas out there that help dads, and are there
dad doulas?
Yeah, you laugh now.
There's
Scott.
a reason that doesn't exist because it sounds ridiculous. Dad doulas.
But I'm going to patent this, and I'm going to quit my day job and assume that I'm going to make money out of this.
Look, I haven't seen any gentlemen who are doulas. It's not to say they don't exist in the world, but it appears to be quite a female-dominant industry.
Makes sense.
Again, we're probably hardwired for it. And to the point around, do we doula dads? Absolutely. That is one of the things that people want from us because they're concerned about their partners, and particularly in the birthing space. So they won't actually tell their partner this, but on the initial call, they'll say to me, look, he's pretty anxious. I'm a little bit worried about him. I'm going to be okay. I just need someone to make sure that he's okay, because if he spirals, then I'm going to spiral, and then I'm just not going to be able to push this kid out. And I'm like, don't worry, babe, we got this, right? Our work is very much mother-centric, but we are always keeping an eye on the partner. And my favorite always is when baby's arrived and, I'm kind of in the home and, I've put mum to bed and Bubby's in like a little kind of portable bassinet with me, like in the lounge near the kitchen, and I'm chopping vegetables, and then like enter stage left, the dad. And I'm like, here we go. This is the conversation I always look for in the first 1 or 2 sessions. And he'll just loiter for a little bit. Just like testing the room,
Oh my God,
I
feel so seen. I do this all the time.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, going? And he'll be like, oh, I'm really good. She's doing so well. Like typically deflects to like how well she has been doing. And I'm like, yeah, superstar, right? And what about you? Oh, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, do you want a cuppa? I'll put the kettle on. Oh, yeah, that'll be good. 20 minutes later, I'm stressed. I'm this, I'm that, I'm tired, like all the rest of it. I'm like, that's okay. You're allowed to feel like shit as well. You got to hold the fort, but you're allowed to feel like shit. You just tell me that you feel like shit. Don't tell her. She don't want to hear about it. Okay? You just tell me. So we hold space for dads as well and non-birthing partners.
Well, if I see Dadula pop up on your website, I will be expecting a check in the mail to appear.
The licensing rights. Yeah,
and
of course.
maybe there's something in that, is adding dads to the roster of for other dads to talk to. If we usually refer to our mates or we send a message, go, what's going on? And saying, yeah, I'm fine is about the biggest lie in the world that a man can tell. But yeah, just a thought.
I was thinking a bit about your dad doula idea, Alex.
Oh, see, everyone's talking about it now. It was a bad idea
of,
5 minutes ago, wasn't it?
The troubled child about to get on the plane, and it's like, just go on the iPad, just in the birthing suite. The doula saying to the dad, look, you can have 5 minutes on the iPad and then you need to go back in. All right? 5 minutes. I'm watching you.
I'm watching.
All right?
I'm putting the timer on the iPad.
That's right. And if I see any incognito tabs pop up, that's it. No iPad for you.
That's it.
Now go back in there and tell her to do the breathing exercises.
Absolutely.
On that topic, I think we have kept you for long enough, Dr. White. It has been beyond useful having you here. Again, another amazing source of wisdom. I feel like every time, Alex, we have a female guest, I walk away, I'm like 1,000% more confident. Every time we have a male guest, I get off this podcast and I'm like, well, I'm terrible and it's all falling apart. So thank you for being another reassuring voice in the room, Renee. It's been so good having you. Alex, any final thoughts for Renee?
No, I feel like I'm a walk out of the studio here and I'm going to feel like a bigger and braver big boy than I was when I started today. So
I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with the idea of having a doula as well, just filling in some of those blind spots around what happens. Not that I was uncomfortable before, but just not really knowing the scope of the service. So yeah, just remember that it's out there, and if you need it or you want it or you want to explore it, Renee, how can people find you?
You can jump onto our website, ifillyourcup.com. Have a look at the services that we provide there and the team. But if you want to send an email, there's opportunity on our Contact Us page. But if you want to get a more feel of like what we do and what we stand for, we typically are over on Instagram, which is @fillyourcup_. And if you want a bit more of a in-depth kind of details around the science and you like that kind of thing and you're a podcast kind of person, obviously, because you're listening to this, we also have a podcast which is called The Science of Motherhood, which I get to be a complete nerd on, which I love to do every week.
And it is a brilliant podcast as well. I have listened to a few episodes and I'm like, I'm going to act like this was my knowledge. No, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdoms and your time, and hopefully this has been informative to everyone, and you're feeling a little bit more ready for the journey. I know I am, and I'll definitely be hitting you up, Renee, for some of your team's services, I reckon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
And for all you tired parents out there, remember, doula in the birthing suite, lactation cookies in the oven.
Podcast.